Gale Sayers. Gale Sayers, a Hall of Fame running back.
Absolutely.
With the Chicago Bears. Dynamic football player. Playing on a team that didn't have a lot going for it, quite honestly. He had him, and he could do it all. I mean, he could return punts. He could run the ball. I mean, he just was
as good an all-purpose back as there's ever been.
Player.
No, Michael, that's where I wanted to go. So you took the words right out of my mouth, because if I were at the press conference, and I think we heard of Gale Sayers passing at 77. I think we heard it after Bill met with the media, I believe. I don't know if he was asked about it today, but whenever he's asked about it, you're right. That's when Bill is at his best, is talking about pro football history. So I know that he's going to speak glowingly about Gale Sayers. Gale Sayers is as good an all-purpose back as there ever was. You hit on it, the returner. He might have been as good of a returner as this league ever saw.
Yes.
He was as brilliant a ball carrier as anybody who's ever done it. 68 games because of knee injuries, and a first ballot Hall of Famer. Michael, he is the gold standard for you know it when you see it. Whenever we talk about somebody, if they're a Hall of Famer, if their career ended today, we're talking about the Gale Sayers rule. About like, okay, he longevity was not on his side. Wasn't his fault. Knee got shredded. But man, if nobody was ever better at running the football. Still got the record with 6 touchdowns against San Francisco in 65. Last thing I'll say about this, Michael, I think it's the last thing, depending on what you say. I was born in 1979, but I actually did grow up watching Gale Sayers. And I'm not talking about Brian's song. I'm not talking about, Billy D. Williams and, playing out him and playing Gale Sayers and Brian's song. By the way, also one of the most respected and admired men in the NFL community, Gale Sayers.
Yes,
but the reason I say I grew up watching him is I remember watching NFL Films video with my grandfather and my uncle. And I remember the clip like it was yesterday. And it was Gale Sayers in that grainy footage looking at the camera saying, give me 18 inches of daylight. That's all I need. And next thing you know, it's just this, and this. Like I watched this. So I watched the film of him growing up. And so when anybody says something about the best backs of all time, if you're just talking about pure ability, you got to start with Gale Sayers.
Yeah, you got to put him in the conversation. And I'm glad you mentioned that. And the last thing I'll say about it too, Mike, I'm glad you mentioned the NFL Films part of it, because it's the great thing about this era, isn't it? That anytime you hear a name that you're not familiar with, anytime you hear about somebody who's not from your era, chances are you can go to NFL Films, YouTube, anywhere, and look at some of that footage. And I would just recommend, for those of you who think we're exaggerating about Gale Sayers, just check him out. So Gale Sayers, rest in glory. What a wonderful life and a wonderful career.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.